I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for your support. Hey y'all, it's Kay from Apothecary, and welcome back to another episode of Bibliotherapy Sunday. Today we're going to be talking about Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck and the life ailment of loss of hope. Now, ironically, I have to tell you a story first before I start off this video talking this book, because I nearly lost hope today in filming this video. I sat down in this exact location to film and it looked pitch dark on my camera. Like, I turned my light on like I normally do and it was just like a spotlight on me, and that was all you could see. You could barely even see me. So then I thought, okay, let me try and go and film from my computer. I filmed once from my computer, everything was great, forgot to hit save. So then I went to film again, filmed it all, everything was fantastic, and then I went to edit and there was no sound. Now I'm here filming for a fourth time, figured out my camera, somehow it was set to manual exposure. When I switched it to auto exposure, it looks normal. So I don't know what happened. Technology is just trying to mess with me today, which is not good because I have a technology assignment due later today for library school, but here I am. I did not lose hope. And now we're talking about Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck and the life ailment of loss of hope. So, a quick spoiler-free summary of this classic. This is one of my favorite classics of all time. If you don't know what Of Mice and Men is about, or you haven't read it, we have an unlikely pair. George is, quote, small and quiet and dark of face. Lenny is a man of tremendous size. And this, by the way, this summary comes from Goodreads because they did such a good job at summarizing this book without giving away spoilers. So we have George, who is small, Lenny, who is huge, and yet they have formed a found family, clinging together in the face of loneliness and alienation. And a quote from the book that Lenny always says, "I got you to look after me and you got me to look after you, and that's why." The laborers in California's dusty vegetable fields, they hustle work when they can, living a hand-to-mouth existence. But George and Lenny have a plan to own an acre of land and a shack to call all their own. This is an intimate portrait of two men facing a world marked by petty tyranny, misunderstanding, jealousy, and callousness. I reread this book as part of my banned books TBR in September. This book gets on the banned list year after year after year. It's one of the most repeated banned books. Here are just some of the reasons why this book has been banned in the past. Racial slurs, racist stereotypes, negative effects on students, aka it's too depressing, violence, offensive language, and unsuited for age group. Although I don't know technically what you would qualify the age group for this book to be, because I feel like, at least in my own opinion, anyone at just about any age from middle school on, early teens on, can find something to relate to in this book. So I first read this book in middle school, and then again in high school, and then in college, and then I think again in grad school, and at least one or two other times since grad school. I graduated from grad school almost 10 years ago now, and I can't imagine what my life would have been like without this book. This book gave me such hope during dark times of my life that it's become a staple in my reading and my literature collection. Now, the novel Cure recommends this for loss of hope, and here's why. Because no matter what George and Lenny go through or get caught up on in life, Lenny keeps the hope of their dream of, quote, living off the fat of the land, end quote. And George, even though maybe he has lost hope, he pretends that he hasn't, and he instills this hope in Lenny because George knows that a life with hope is 100 times better than a life without hope. So, like I said, this is one of my favorite classics of all time. I've read this many times, and this reread, I again gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Some things that I really love about this book is it gives you an honest, gritty portrayal of life in the 30s with being a migrant worker. This book was released, I believe, in 1937, and it gave such an honest, deep, gritty portrayal of life at that time. There are so many people at that time that were migrant workers, just like George and Lenny, going from farm to farm and just making paycheck by paycheck and living from meal to meal, essentially. That I feel like it just gave you that true, honest portrayal of what life was really like at that time. We also have some amazing, memorable characters. No matter how many years it's been since you've read this book, I can guarantee you that there are characters that I'll mention just briefly without spoilers that you will say, oh yeah, I remember that character. We have, of course, George and Lenny, the really short guy and the really tall guy. We have Crooks, who is the only black character in this book and the only black guy on the land, on the farm. We have Candy, who is the old hand who has the old dog that smells and everyone wants to put it out of its misery. Also, trigger warning, if you do not like animal deaths, this might not be the book for you. We have Curly, who has the mangled hand that he keeps in a glove full of Vaseline. We have Curly's wife. We have Slim, who is essentially like the boss of all the migrant workers, the leader of them all. He's a very tall, skinny guy. So many different characters, both good and bad, that are so memorable you will never forget them. So that's my bibliotherapy recommendation video for Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Finally, I've got this done. Now I can go edit it and get this up for you all. If you have read Of Mice and Men, let me know in the comments below who is your most memorable character from this book. As always, my Patreon and my Discord information will be in the description below. Keep reading, and I love you all to the moon and back. Bye.